When you read ancient Buddhist texts, you find that the Buddha isn't just this serene teacher sitting under a tree. No, he's also a figure of just immense cosmic power. We're talking about someone who can emit light that fills entire universes and has physical traits that just completely defy biology. It honestly sounds like something straight out of a superhero comic.
But that makes you wonder, right? If the whole goal is inner peace, why all the grand external spectacle? Why the cosmic fireworks? Well, today we're going to dive into the really profound reasons behind the Buddha's miraculous powers, all explained in one of the most important Mahayana texts, the Great Treatise on the Perfection of Wisdom.
So the text we're looking at today zeroes in on 3 absolutely mind-bending displays that happened right before a major teaching. A constant, radiant light, a tongue that could literally cover a universe, and the ability to make the entire world tremble. We're going to see how each of these wasn't just some magic trick, but was actually a very specific tool for enlightenment.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about credibility. You got to remember, the Buddha was about to teach something called the perfection of wisdom. This is a concept so deep, so counterintuitive, that it would be really easy for people to just dismiss it. He needed a way to show his audience, hey, listen up, what I'm about to say is undeniably true.
So these miracles, they were like the ultimate form of verification, a kind of divine seal of authenticity. I mean, when you're about to explain the fundamental nature of reality itself, you need a little more than just words. You kind of have to show that you're operating on a completely different level.
And the text gives us this brilliant story to show exactly how this worked. It all starts with a very humble offering. An old servant woman gives the Buddha her only meal. And it's not even good food. In return, the Buddha makes this huge promise of future blessings for her. But this leads to some pretty reasonable doubt from a skeptical Brahmin, which sets the stage perfectly for the final step, some undeniable, miraculous proof.
So this Brahmin, he basically accuses the Buddha of being a flatterer. He says he's just exaggerating to get a meal. It's a very human, very relatable moment of doubt, right? So in response, the Buddha doesn't argue. He shows him. He extends his tongue and covers his entire face, all the way up to his hairline. This was a known physical mark of a great being who has never, ever spoken a lie in countless lifetimes. Game over.
So after that undeniable proof, the Buddha then offers a really simple analogy. He compares the woman's small offering to the tiny seed of a massive banyan tree. A tiny little cause can have a massive effect, but only if it's planted in the right conditions. Her sincere offering, you see, was planted in the supreme field of merit, the Buddha himself. So naturally, it would yield an immeasurable reward. The miracle opened the Brahmin's mind, and the logic sealed the deal.
But these powers weren't just for convincing skeptics. Not at all. They were also a direct, physical expression of pure compassion.
The text describes the Buddha entering a special state of concentration, and it's called the Lion's Play Samadhi. The name here is so key. It's not called the earth-shattering Samadhi or something scary like that. It's lion's play. Think about a lion playing. It's incredibly powerful, but it's totally effortless. It implies a power so immense that shaking an entire universe is as simple and playful as a lion batting at a toy.
And the whole point of this display was really twofold. First, it was a wake-up call, a literal jolt to remind everyone that absolutely nothing, not even the ground under your feet, is permanent. But even more profoundly, this was an act of direct, compassionate intervention. The vibrations from the shaking were said to travel down into the deepest hell realms, shattering the instruments of torture and freeing beings from their suffering. This wasn't a threat, it was a cosmic rescue mission.
So we've seen miracles as proof and as cosmic compassion, but what about the immediate, tangible effects on the people who were actually there? Well, the results were nothing short of extraordinary.
The text explains that when the Buddha used these powers, a wave of healing just washed over the world. And this wasn't just spiritual healing, it was physical and it was total. Just imagine it. The blind suddenly see color, the deaf can hear, the sick are instantly well, and even people with missing limbs are made whole again. It was a complete restoration of well-being on every level, basically removing all the physical obstacles that would prevent someone from hearing the teachings.
And this incredible healing power wasn't some impersonal, distant force. The treatise shares this really touching story about the Buddha finding a monk who was sick and lying in his own filth, totally neglected by everyone else. The Buddha didn't just snap his fingers from afar. He personally went to the monk, washed him with his own hands, and then healed him. It just goes to show that this same universe-shaking power was also there for one single suffering person.
And that brings us to the ultimate point. The light, the shaking, the healing,
all of it, it was all a means to an end. It was all about setting the stage for the real transformation, the one that happens inside the mind.
The text makes this really beautiful connection here. The external displays of power led directly to internal transformations. After witnessing all these events, people developed what's called a mind of equality, where they started to see each other as family. They were inspired to practice the 10 good deeds. And because they'd been healed and their needs were met, they felt this profound inner joy, a bliss that the text compares to being in a deep meditative state.
So, in the end, the miracles were really an act of supreme skillful means. The Buddha wasn't just showing off. He was essentially tilling the soil of people's hearts and minds. By removing their suffering, getting rid of their doubts, he created the absolute perfect environment for them to receive his wisdom. The power simply opened the door.
And this leaves us with a final thought to chew on. The Buddha's miracles are presented as this perfect fusion of wisdom, knowing exactly what's needed, and compassion, having the power to deliver it. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? On our own much smaller human scale, how can we unite our own wisdom and compassion? How can our actions, like the Buddha's, not just state a truth, but actually create the very conditions for others to realize it for themselves?